Happy birthday, Saquon Barkley, and happy birthday, Cooper DeJean. Fly, Eagles, fly. I'm Dom Sayani, the host of We Talk Sports, presented by WeTV. Joining me are my co-hosts, Jacob Pendergraft, Owen Fleming. Man, what a Super Bowl, am I right?
Eagles, fly,
Eagles,
baby.
fly. They did
Eagles,
it.
fly.
They did it.
Absolutely. What were you guys' just reactions to the Super Bowl?
Go Cooper DeJean.
Yay.
Yeah.
Exciting white guy.
Go white boy. Honestly, I just want to go ahead and say it. My prediction was right.
Please, well, I mean, I was also in the belief that the Eagles would win, but I did not think it would be that much of a blowout. I mean, just a surprise how well the Eagles, especially in defense, I mean, they put clamps on the Chiefs' offense.
Yeah, the Eagles followed Jacob Pendergraft's keys to victory. We'll throw a little graphic or something up right there. And basically, the Eagles, they put pressure on Mahomes constantly.
Oh, yeah.
They made him make the critical mistakes in the early game. And, 24-0 first half shutout.
Absolutely. We were talking, saying, oh, would this be the first Super Bowl to go, have a team actually get shut out? Obviously, I didn't think that would happen because it was, still, mid-third quarter going into fourth.
And there was the garbage time stat
And I was going to say, they're going to
there.
have some garbage time to work with. I'm you usually never see, especially with a good team like the Chiefs, they're not going to go scoreless. And, yeah, I was genuinely shocked of how, the defense really put on there. And the Chiefs have been very weird this year. They're good, but they also kind of play a little sloppy.
They regressed to the mean this game, I think.
They
went back to the kind of mediocre regular season that they've been having.
Yeah.
I think the previous games, they were able to stay in there because the other defenses they faced were suspect. They hadn't faced a defense that was as good as the Eagles.
I would say Houston was a better defense. I would say their offense
Houston was a better defense, but even then, Houston's defense is not on the same level as the Eagles.
No, that was...
So I picked the Chiefs. I thought they were going to win like they usually do. I was wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. I accept that. But I really wasn't expecting the phase of even they didn't do a bad job at stopping the run for the Saquon. They were able to kind of hold him in check for a little bit. But they were not able to stop the clutch passing plays.
No.
They were not able to stop those deep shots they were taking. Really, it was just a complete decimation of that Chiefs game plan.
I'm really surprised just because of how well just the offense for the Eagles. I thought the one thing that they needed to focus more on is focus on the run, but if you need to pass, make sure you do it efficiently. And that's exactly what they did. When the run got kind of got stopped and wasn't really a effective point, they focus a lot on Jalen Hurts to the point where you have not seen it this season. In a way, it makes you go back to his season, when he first got to the Super Bowl, where he was more aggressive at passing. And during the Super Bowl, they really focused on that. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, he really has proved the doubters wrong. And this performance is just, obviously a defensive performance that will be remembered. But Jalen Hurts, give him some flowers.
Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl
He got some
MVP.
flowers, yeah.
Super Bowl MVP. Love Hurts. Everything.
Love Hurts, baby.
I think he's been underrated for a bit, just in terms of to the top tier quarterbacks. It's not really even his fault that he's underrated. It's just the fact that they don't really utilize the passing as much as they used to. But Hurts is a very good quarterback. I mean, people were pretty shocked when they drafted him, when they still had Carson Wentz on the team. I'd like to imagine if they had stuck with Carson Wentz instead of drafting him.
I don't even
and they're
think
now
they
would not be in the shape they are now if they hadn't drafted that quarterback. He was a total steal in the second round. He's turned into a bona fide franchise guy.
He is. I mean, absolutely. They paid the man the big money for the reason.
Yeah.
And, he's been always really an underdog person too, because obviously when he was at Bama, he was in the shadow of Tua, especially during that national championship game, and has now transferred to Oklahoma, had a Heisman-esque season, then gets picked in the second round, sealed the draft as you mentioned, Owen, and has just basically gotten better as each season has kind of gone on. There was a little bit of regression last year in terms of both a little bit of performance and wins. Of course, the end of the season collapse, which kind of fueled this new Eagles team that made this defense that the Eagles have is better than the defense they had probably in that first matchup, and they just really gave the Chiefs everything.
Well,
and
they brought in Vic Fangio from the Dolphins last offseason, which is a pretty big
Which was-
pickup.
which was
way
good move,
better
too.
than Matt
Yeah, it was a
Patricia.
good move. With the Dolphins fans were like celebrating him leaving because they thought he was, or the players
we're
thought
the
he was coaching them too hard.
And we're the
So
Dolphins
now they're out of the
Look who's
playoffs.
laughing.
Yeah.
Look who's struggling.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is crazy to think like that entire. I would say the way that even after that loss, they have built themselves into this team. Like last season, Buccaneers game, just completely a first round exit, and now Super Bowl champs. I mean, you can't. Howie Roseman is the best GM in the entire league and arguably one of the best GMs in the sport.
I mean, he's got a great draft strategy. It's called Draft Georgia Bulldog Defensive Players.
And it worked.
It worked out
works.
great. They all played fantastic.
I know.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter was really effective in that game, and a lot of other Georgia players, I think, was it Nakobe Dean was also in there?
He
too?
had a great season. He got hurt
Okay.
a few games ago, I think, in the
Okay.
playoffs. But they had Keely Ringo, some other guys playing. But
Absolutely.
really, it's a sound strategy, I'd say,
Then
to
Brandon-
draft championship
And
players.
then Brandon Graham coming
Yeah.
in after being on IR for
Which is a nice story for him if he
good story.
retires.
He
you know.
finished off the job with the
Yeah.
Eagles and got that ring.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we talked a lot about the Eagles, how good they are. Let's talk about, of course, the losers, the Kansas City Chiefs. And there's going to be a lot of discussion about this. I will say one thing, and as much as we've been crapping on the Chiefs as much,
Suck it, Andy Reid.
this is not the end of the Chiefs. We got to be honest. Patrick Mahomes, still late 20s.
Yeah.
It's not the end, though it might be the end of this current version of the Chiefs. And I could genuinely see, I don't think Travis Kelce's going to hang up this year because I think if he did,
He wants a Super Bowl ring.
He
to
wants a
propose
Super
to
Bowl
Taylor with.
He's
yeah.
got to try again if she hasn't already broken up with him.
I think he'll give
He
it
wasn't she wasn't walking out with him after the game, you know? I mean,
I think they'll give it one more go around before. I think Chris Jones, it was surprising because Chris Jones that game he was obviously facing injuries, but
Yeah.
he looked
did
like
you see that reaction when Mahomes threw that interception and Chris Jones literally fell to his knees and he was like, that was really
Chiefs
an
fans,
entertaining.
why?
moment.
I
Yeah.
think Chris Jones is just the physical embodiment of every Chiefs player or Chiefs fan that game.
Yeah.
absolutely just pure pain, which Chiefs fans have not felt in a while. And I mean, come on. I mean,
Sucks to not have the refs on your side, right,
Yeah,
guys?
yeah. I saw DeAndre Hopkins saying, "Y'all better stop talking about the refs." I'm like, "Come on,
Come
bro."
on.
come on, man. You can't be saying that after losing the Super Bowl when you guys have, no lie, benefited from really bad calls and also really a good amount of luck this season. Like the
Yeah.
Chiefs are lucky to be in the first seed because they easily could have been like a third seed or even the fourth seed with the amount of breaks they caught. I mean, they
gotta
almost lost to the Raiders this
Yeah.
year.
And-
Twice.
And the Panthers.
And the
Scrappy
Panthers, too.
Panthers.
They've
Scrappy
lost-
Panthers almost beat both Super
Both
Bowl
Super
teams
Bowl
this year.
teams, so there you
Watch
go.
out.
Keep pounding. Anyway.
pounding.
Anyway, good.
Anyway, but I think we'll finish up this Super Bowl segment before going into our fun segment.
Yeah.
Is by talking about kind of what does this do for, I guess, Patrick Mahomes' legacy and the GOAT debate and I guess anything. I'm just going to have to say it.
Goat debate.
The GOAT debate is shattered.
They gotta.
I don't think
they
it's
gotta
over.
Stop.
I think it is
No,
over. I
for
think
now it is
Brady.
over.
It
For
is
now,
Brady.
call
it's-
me when he has the rings that Brady does.
Okay, rings. Let's go ahead and say it. Rings are a team thing. And there's other things that you can say. A player, this is by far Mahomes' worst performance in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, how many pick sixes?
I
has
saw that
Tom Brady
Mahomes has
in the
thrown
Super Bowl?
more interceptions
One,
in the Super Bowls
One.
now.
Super Bowl 51 against the Falcons, which, yeah.
Mahomes has thrown more interceptions in Super Bowls now than Brady did in his entire career.
That's because Brady is a system quarterback. And I
What?
will die
What?
on that hill.
No!
I will die on that
You're
hill.
a Brady hater? I didn't know this about
Yes,
you.
I despise
Wow.
Tom Brady
Oh,
for his
wow.
dinking and dunking.
If Tom Brady
Oh.
is such a terrible quarterback,
Why does he
and
have
such
so
a
many
terrible
rings?
person, why is he still on the ESPN Plus fantasy app?
I don't know.
I had him on my
I
dynasty.
also
I
drafted
kept
Tom
him
Brady.
on my dynasty roster
Oh,
for a
yeah.
whole
Oh
year
my
after he
goodness.
retired,
I
just to
kept
be
Brady
sure.
on my fantasy squad.
I
But
didn't want
listen,
anyone
dude.
else to get him.
Listen, dude, but no one has had a start like Patrick Mahomes has had.
That's true.
And I will say this, Patrick Mahomes is playing better right now than Brady did in his first half of being a Patriots. Yes, he has. He's won way more MVPs. Brady wasn't a good quarterback until Randy Moss got there.
What are we saying,
is
bro? He
crazy.
won Super Bowls before Randy Moss.
Mm.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He wasn't
There's no
a
saving
truly
him.
elite quarterback until he had to get Randy Moss with them.
And then he didn't have Randy Moss after Randy
then he
retired.
went
He
over
was-
to Dinkin' and Duncan.
Well, we went to the Bucks and took him from
Yeah,
zero
with
to
Mike
hero.
Evans and Chris Godwin. And
Yeah,
that-
he still took him from 0 to
They
hero.
plugged him right in, and
they
he
were
won a
sev-
Super Bowl. They
just
had
a
Jameis
quarterback
Winston.
They were just a solid quarterback away from breaking out. Anywho, we'll
Who did they beat
now
in
they
that?
suck.
Who did they beat in that
Sorry,
Super
Bucks
Bowl?
fans.
Would you remind me?
against? You mean the Chiefs without an offensive line?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Which
Chiefs didn't have an offensive line this
yesterday.
No, they didn't.
And Mahomes really can't perform
This was
without an
ba- this was
offensive
a-
line.
I know.
He can't perform without the refs. Let's be honest.
So can't Brady. Anyway, let's go on
Whoa.
to let's go tuck roll. Anyway, let's go on
Okay.
and talk about
roll.
our
Tuck and
final one, and it will be ranking the past Super Bowls and past 10 Super Bowls, I should say.
Okay.
And we're gonna start off with actually a hot one, Super Bowl 49.
Top 10 Super Bowls.
Super Bowl 49. You don't need to. I'm gonna explain. Super Bowl 49, Seahawks, Patriots. This was the Malcolm Butler interception at the 1 yard line game.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the tiers that we're going to go off of. We're going to have an S tier, an A tier, a B tier, a C tier, a D tier. D tier is basically kind of F. So
Okay.
Okay.
C is kind of like your average Super Bowl you didn't really care about.
Last
And
year's.
Yeah.
B tier is like, okay Super Bowl. And then A tier is like, great Super Bowl. Loved it. S tier is like one of the best of all time. So
Okay.
we'll start with Super Bowl 49. And I won't let the Brady hate get to me this time.
Okay.
It is one of the best and probably up to S tier because it ended in a way. It has the most famous interception and the most famous blunder of all time with Pete
She
Carroll
ran
not
the
running
ball.
the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And
Marshawn Lynch, star of the
Right
film
there
Love
is-
Hurts. right
absolutely.
now.
what would you guys say about that?
I'd have to say that's an S tier Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
It's
would agree with that.
I wasn't really that into football back then. You know, I would like watch it at like parties and stuff and play on my phone half the time. But watching like the replays of that now, it's a really iconic
Yeah.
moment in the history of sports. Like it's in all the top 10 videos.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty iconic Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
But yeah, I would say so too. It had a climactic ending, and Malcolm Butler not getting MVP is kind of snub. But anyway, let's talk about one that you have on your shirt there.
Oh
and
no!
one
Oh, I
that-
shouldn't have worn this
Oh.
today.
Super Bowl 50, and I'm gonna actually put this into C tier for me. I know I'm a Panther
This
fan
is
too,
a
and I'm
depressing
probably gonna
Super
say
Bowl.
C tier, just because the story was okay. It wasn't a boring Super Bowl. It was just more of like, as a Panther fan, it was heart
It was a
breaking
meltdown.
and
Yeah,
just
it was a meltdown. Riverboat Ron. Don't
Yeah.
miss him. I don't miss him at all.
It's always like helping out
I
Cal
think
now.
it was a
Yeah.
Super Bowl with quarterbacks that was just not there. Like Peyton Manning didn't play anything. Cam definitely did not play well.
The thing was, Cam's lack of weapons that year finally
was.
caught up to
Yeah.
them that game because they're like
No,
wide receiver one
Ted
got
Ginn
hurt.
Jr.
Ted Ginn Jr. was the leading target. And of course, there was that terrible fumble moment that kind of put a stain on his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that Super Bowl for me, just because of the emotional pain, I'd probably put it in D tier. Like, I'm never going to, I don't really want to, like, rewatch that Super Bowl ever again.
Yeah.
After a certain point, it's just kind of like, oh, they aren't coming back. This is just
Yeah.
a beat. It was kind of like yesterday.
Hey,
Yeah,
keep pounding.
keep pounding.
Okay, they're Washington fan. Anyway, we're gonna do. We're gonna move on from Super Bowl 50. Me and Owen are about kind of the same C D tier. Let's do Super Bowl 51, which I'm gonna say is probably A or S, just because of the way it ended too. And the Falcons. This is why I can't respect the Falcons. That 28-3 lead that they blew. It was the first Super Bowl that I fully watched because I saw some of the Panthers Super Bowl. I wasn't really engaged into football at the time. This is the first full time I've ever watched the full NFL season.
Yeah.
And boy, the Falcons are going to forever be this idea of blown leads.
Well, it's a stain on the organization, I would say, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Quinn has to win a Super Bowl with Washington in order for that to just
clear
be
his legacy.
Yeah,
He got it next year for sure.
I would think it was also partially on Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle
getting way
Shanahan,
too
who
cute
to
with the
this
play
day
calling.
is still probably the chokiest and the biggest choke.
He
Joker.
just has bad luck with the Super Bowls,
He
then,
does,
man.
and it's not going to get any better.
And you know, Brady. That's the Brady game right
Brady
there.
game.
You
That's
say
the
he's a
game.
system quarterback. He's coming back from 28 to
okay,
3,
but
man.
yeah, with the help of his defense. But
I mean, that's important.
and
part
that
of the team.
lucky moon bowl to Edelman. Okay, come on now.
Eli Manning had some lucky Super Bowl
Yeah,
catches.
but
We'll talk
he also beat them twice. So and
Yeah,
so did
that's
Nick
true.
Foles. So
That's true.
what does that
That's
say?
true.
Anyway, I'm
What-
gonna put this about. What would you say, Jacob? What would you
I
say?
put it in B tier.
You put this one B
I
tier?
put it in B tier.
I'd say it's an A tier just
The-
because
I'd say
I.
it's A tier.
the 23-3 comeback.
Let's talk about one that I'm actually gonna put in S tier. Maybe
Mhm.
because Brady losing, but also
Okay.
Super Bowl 52. This one was a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
I will say a lot of scoring, and Brady actually performed well in this one and still lost. And I would say it's a surprising one just how well Nick Foles played. And I mean, this was the one that, of course, I hate watch for the Patriots, but
Yeah.
I was intrigued and I was enjoyed. I'm gonna put this one around A to S tier. But what are your thoughts about Super Bowl 52?
Philly special. That
That
was
was-
a pretty great play.
And then the Patriots play with Brady dropping.
Yeah, and Brady said that he's been jealous of Foles ever since for that. I'd probably put that in A tier. That's a good Super Bowl. I don't know if it's like the peak of my Super Bowls, but that was still a pretty good game.
I would say the same thing too. Any thoughts on that, Jacob?
I put it A. I don't know. It's not S tier, but
It's a good.
it was a good watch.
Yeah.
It's something when I'm
Yeah,
eating something in the middle of the night and I'm looking for a YouTube video to pull up, I'll put up that replay.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Philly.
Let's speed this up, but let's go in with some lightning round. Let's
Okay.
do Super Bowl 53,
Mhm.
F D tier. This Super Bowl
Terrible. F.
sucked.
Bottom of the
13
roster.
to 3. It was the worst.
That was the game that got Jared Goff ran out of LA.
and yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Just-
I'd also put that in an F
and
tier.
also
That
and
was a
also
pretty
the Super Bowl
terrible
halftime show, probably the worst.
game. Whoa.
Which one was that?
Maroon 5.
Yeah,
Oh.
I remember Adam Levine and the shirt off controversy.
All right, we'll get through that one. We all agree. F tier, worst Super Bowl.
Pretty bad.
All right, let's move on to Super Bowl 54, the first of the Mahomes one, but actually one that a lot of people are going to say a pretty good one. I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed that
It
one.
was a solid Super Bowl, and I think people would enjoy it a little bit more if it didn't start this whole legacy or this dynasty of the
Chiefs
Chiefs
league.
winning by
Yeah.
stupid decisions.
But they won this game. This was also a Kyle Shanahan type game that dot to Tyreek Hill.
Well, and Jimmy Garoppolo was running
Yeah,
the
yeah.
offense back then.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
and-
the fact that they got there with Jimmy G running the show is pretty admirable. But I'm not gonna put that in peak. That's probably like maybe a C.
C to B tier, I would say.
B tier,
It
yeah.
was a good watch. I enjoyed it. I liked seeing Andy Reid finally get a Super Bowl and
Yeah,
get that monkey
yeah.
off his back.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty solid one. Let's talk about one that's also boring, Super Bowl 55. The story going into this game was basically almost having the State Farm Bowl again with the Mahomes and Rodgers. And yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of things. I thought the Chiefs were going to win this game because they were looking the best. They beat the Bucks earlier in that
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
But then once reports kind of came out like offensive line, I clearly saw that being effective in the game. Mahomes running for his life.
Yeah.
And this game was kind of the last time we saw the speedster era of the Chiefs, where if they don't have a good offensive line, they cannot throw the ball as much. Mahomes could even be flying, and it still is going to be like,
And now they're kind of back in that position
Yeah.
again with a
And
bad
what?
offensive
They don't
line.
have
I'd
an
say that
O-line
was a
anymore.
fun Super Bowl. I enjoyed seeing Brady go into the new
Yeah.
system and prove all the like Belichick doubters wrong.
Yeah.
I'd put that in,
I'm just
in B
I'm
as
just
well,
such
I
a
would say.
hater for the way he plays because he's such a boring player. Like, throw the ball.
See, people hated the Patriots because they dominated.
We could make a whole episode just based off this Patriots debate, y'all.
We could.
All right, well, let's move on to a Super Bowl that's kind of underrated, Super Bowl 56, Bengals in there. So Bengals, Rams.
That was a good one.
That was a good one, too. Stafford. I would say this one's kind of B tier as well, kind of the mid.
I put it A tier.
A tier?
I put
Okay.
it A
I had a good ending.
I would put it in A
I
tier as
loved
well.
seeing Aaron Donald, a Pitt player, get his ring. So
Matthew
good.
Stafford was my favorite player when I was a kid on those Georgia teams, so I was really happy to see him finally get out of Detroit and immediately win a ring.
Yeah.
I find that vindicated a lot of agendas about him, I would say.
all right, let's get through these last three ones in a quick one because they're all Chiefs Super Bowls. Let's do Super Bowl 57 through 59. What would you rank each one? I would put 57 in A tier because it was a fun Super Bowl, I won't lie. I put 58 probably around C to D tier, forgettable one. And then this one, I would say C to B tier as well, but just because they're kind of intertwined, mainly just seeing if the Chiefs lose, Eagles win, Chiefs lose, kind of like in that regard, I would say.
I'm putting them all in B tier.
All of them.
All of them in B tier.
All of them in B tier.
I wasn't the hugest football fan during that time. I mean, obviously, as a Washington fan,
Yeah,
there wasn't a
yeah.
whole lot going on. But, You know, I just like it's not something I'd go out of my way to watch. I mean, who wants to watch a Chiefs Super Bowl?
Would you rewatch the Super Bowl?
I mean, this was a fun
I
like
rewatched
watch,
the halftime show.
but
Yeah,
I don't think this is a Super Bowl that'll really be like live in history.
I don't think I'll look this up past this week.
Eagles fans will, but like
Yeah.
it'll be
Eagles fans, calm down. You won. Quit pulling up lampposts from the street. I saw that video.
All right. Well, that is in fact going to do it for our final segment and going to do it for today's episode of We Talk Sports. Thank you guys once again for joining me. And fun Super Bowl. We'll be back next week talking about NBA All-Star Week. And thank you guys so much. And go Cats.
Fly, Eagles, fly, baby.
Go Birds!